Just tell me how this all started. I assume it started when you first received an email from the Smithsonian.
It started with someone in a high seat of government in this country issued a most unfortunate directive, order, executive order, that there would be no identity artifacts or presentations in the Smithsonian. And it was all about someone being against diversity, inclusion, and equity for African Americans and all people who've been marginalized in this country. That does not represent America living out its mantra of one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That does not represent e pluribus unum, one out of many.
And so,
So we
okay.
have too much of exclusionary politic in this country, too much division, and too much downright negative, hateful speech. And recently inaugurated public policies that would marginalize, demean certain people because of their race, gender, sexual orientation, or their heritage.
And so what did that email say exactly to you?
Directly and explicitly that my two books will be returned to me. And the general flimsy, dishonest excuse was because they were under too much light. Museums, first class museums, know how to protect artifacts. So that was dishonest. And also, the lunch count, excuse me, that was sent to the Smithsonian, where those students sat down in Greensboro, North Carolina. It's been under discussion for removal.
And to be clear, you never asked for these books back, correct?
No, no. And since 2016, they have respectfully and routinely contacted me asking if I wanted to donate it, those two books. I wanted them to stay under loan status.
And for you to see this done, does it make you skeptical, nervous about the future for the National African and American History and Culture Museum?
Yes, definitely so. Already, the man who's in the highest office in this country has said that he wanted to get rid of all what they call woke. They don't even know what woke means. It only means people to be enlightened, to think for themselves, to be rational, to be inclusive. But you have forces in this nation who don't want that. They are mirroring, reflecting, and living out the bigotry of the Southland, where I came from. I'm a native Mississippian. And they are really parroting that divisive, uncivilized rhetoric that my parents told me about, which came from the mouth of one Theodore G. Bilbo, who was the arch racist in Mississippi, a two-term governor, who, when a black man named John Hartfield was lynched, and that lynching was advertised in my hometown newspaper, the Jackson Daily News. And on the day of the lynching, would you believe that 10,000 people showed up? And even they cut off his fingers and kept them as souvenirs. That's barbaric. That's insanity. But that happened in this country in 1919. And we did not get an anti-lynching bill in this country until Vice President Kamala Harris and President Biden led the enactment of the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill in 2022. It took this nation 106 years. I repeat, 106 years to even come to the point of saying that black people were human and should not be victims of terror, hate, and ill will.
Yeah. And if you could say something directly to President Trump or his administration about this, what would you say?
Have you ever heard of the golden rule that's in all of the major 8 religions of the world? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's it.
And could
And
you,
and
oh,
and
go ahead.
also, when I left home, my mom always told me, Amos, behave. Don't take anything that doesn't belong to you. Don't ask for anything if you go to a house. Let the people offer it to you. Behave. We've lost our conduct in this nation.
Mhm.
How do we expect our children to parrot, to mirror civility, kindness, love, peace, and justice if we have persons in high offices displaying the opposite?
And for people who have not seen the Bible or this book, could you talk about the importance of it and why it needs to be in this museum?
First of all, we need to respect the Bible and not pimp the Bible for monetary gain, as some folks have done. We ought to realize that Micah 6 and 8 sums it all up. What does the Lord require of thee, O man, O woman, O youth, O child? But to do justice, to love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. That's it, in a nutshell. Do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. Whatever is your principle that informs and governs your conduct. Make sure that you are doing justice, loving mercy, and walking humbly with your God. And then from Reverend George Washington Williams' book, I would say, remember, to remember, to recall, to celebrate is a human expression. That's why we have our birthday celebrations. That's the reason why we have the 4th of July. That's why we have wedding anniversaries. And what is happening, you have persons who talking about banning books, redacting history. That's not sane. That should not be. Why try to force cultural, faith, identity, amnesia on us? To tell Black folks, to tell persons of other races, you cannot celebrate your identity. They claim that they are against identity politics. None of us has the same thumbprint. We're all different. And diversity does not mean deficiency. Even for us to get harmony, you have different notes that make up an octave. And we have a lot of dissonance, awful noise in this nation. And we need to have a symphony in which we can realize what the poet said: music has charm to soothe the savage breast, are split, are knotted oak. We need to have music in the air and not all of this negativity, this dissonance.
Sure. And I'm familiar with your history and how much work you've done in the community. Um, for you, I noticed your passion as you're talking about this. How are you feeling when it comes to all this? Are you frustrated? Are you disappointed? Are you surprised at all?
Well, I'm a history buff, so I'm not disappointed. And it's unfortunate that people don't realize that if you don't know history, you will repeat history's horrors, hellish moments, and those blunders that do not present us as being better angels. We're acting like demons in America.
And I think my last question, what do you say to the younger generation specifically, but all the millions of people that have traveled and will continue to travel to the museum, but unfortunately miss out on the artifacts that they are removing?
Don't let nobody keep you from celebrating your Sankofa moment. I have a walking stick that was given to me in Ghana, West Africa. And the handle is a carving of a Sankofa bird. Sankofa bird. A bird looking backwards with an egg in its mouth in order to go forward. What is the meaning? What is the message? You cannot have pregnant possibilities for a future. If you do not know where you came from, if you do not celebrate, if you do not have rituals of remembrances, we need to include in our celebratory moments citing the bad things in order to be reminded not to do it again. And we ought to have great hallelujah moments celebrating the excellent, creative, loving things that the human family has done.
And to be clear, you haven't received the books just yet. You just received the fact that they're sending them back, correct?
That's right, and indicating how they were shipping the two books. I have not received it. But they tried to backpedal it, but they have not made good on their indicating that maybe they made a mistake. And I'm sure that when there was a lot of pushback, that's why
When did they
that was
try
being,
when did they try to dial back?
that was after they'd already,
Oh, sent the email.
yes, already sent the email. But I called them, told them how unfortunate, how illogical it was. That is the reason that they gave for sending it back.
Yeah. And have you been to the exhibit? Have you seen it since it's been there in 2016?
Oh yes, I was there
Okay.
for the opening. I was there for the opening,
So
and
the reason
it
I
was,
asked that is I was there today and I actually took a picture. Hold on, I'm going to show you. So this is a picture. I don't know if you can see it well.
oh yes, I can see it.
And I have the picture of you down there. Now, this is a wider view where the picture is further down here. Do you know where the Bible originally was? Was it over here?
It was right there, uh, to the
Was it in the
left
glass?
of the narrative.
So on this side?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And I know to the right, there's Mr. Evers, my mentor,
Yeah.
and also there's John Lewis and uh, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth.
I'm trying to see if I had another picture. Okay, so it was originally on this side over here.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
that's right.
Okay. I think those are my main questions for you, but is there anything that I'm missing that you would like to add or say?
Well, I've been in civil rights activism for 70 years this coming September. And I became involved because I was, at the age of 14, very much horrified when I looked at that Jet magazine cover and saw that mutilated head of Emmett Till. I ran to Mr. McEvers's office that was 3 blocks from my home in the Fair Street Historic District in Jackson, Mississippi. His office was up over the Alamo Theater, the only theater that blacks could go to because of segregation. And I told Mr. Evers how upset I was that those evil white men, that's the way I put it, even as a child, killed Emmett Till. And Mr. Evers said, I understand, Amos, how upset you are. You're angry and you're frightened. But don't just be angry, upset, and frightened. He said, let's be smart, and strategic. Why not let's organize a youth council of the NACP so that you and your friends would learn how to fight this evil of racism, injustice, and violence in a smart, strategic way. And I never forgot that admonition. Then excuse me, Mr. Evers invited me to ask my mother if I could ride with him to San Francisco to attend the 47th annual meeting of the NACP. He just bought a 55 Oldsmobile. I never shall forget our route. We left Jackson, Vicksburg, to Shreveport, from Shreveport to Dallas, from Dallas up to Amarillo, from Amarillo down to Santa Fe, from Santa Fe to Flagstaff, Arizona, from Flagstaff, Arizona to Needles, California, and then from Needles on up through the valley, up to the Bay. And it was here at that 47th annual meeting that I first met Dr. Martin Luther King. He spoke for Youth Night on that Wednesday night. In fact, I have a copy of his text. I met Ms. Rosa Parks, Clarence Mitchell, Thurgood Marshall, Walter Reuther of the AFL-CIO, Bishop Stephen Gill Spotswood, who was a senior bishop in the AME Zion Church, the church of Frederick Douglass, and Harriet Tubman. And I was greatly inspired by that incredible experience. And since 1956, I've been going to conventions. And wherever I've been in this nation and my pastoral responsibilities, I've always been engaged with the NACP and president of the branches in Westchester, Pennsylvania, St. Paul, Minnesota, now here in San Francisco.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking all this time and sharing all of this insight with us. Thank you for the work that you do.